So this is my session coming up. It's a bit of a clickbait thing, but it is actually accurate. And this session is going to include some code. I know you've been waiting for it, but we did say that we would include some code. And so this session is how to recreate a $1 trillion company's AI tool in your lunch break with me. And I'm not joking. I'm deadly serious. Now, in order to show this, what I need to do is share my screen. I need to make sure I share the right screen because otherwise drama will occur. I think it's this one. And there I am. There's my screen shared. Let me go to what we've got. So many of you may not realize this, but you've been using AI for a number of years. And if you've ever gone to Google Translate, it is definitely, I believe, using large language models and possibly rules-based, but I'm guessing it's probably AI. And the way it works is fairly simple. Here is this is publicly available text, and this is Danish, just so you know. And it's from Hans Christian Andersen, so he's long out of copyright, but it's called The Little Mermaid. I know that much, but it's from 1837, and the way that copyright rules work is that it's fine to show. Now, this is educational. I want to explain that. I'm teaching you how to do something. So what I'm going to do is paste this, and as you can see, it immediately translates it into English. And you could pick any other language you wanted, and it would translate it into Italian or from Italian into German or whatever. The website has some interesting features, like, for example, this, where you can click and it will swap the languages around and all the rest of it. But and also there's drop downs and things like that. Very interesting, yeah. But what's even more interesting is if I do this, and you'll see that actually the app is completely written in Delphi. It's not actually Google Translate, and by the way, as I said, I'm doing this for educational purposes, but it's actually a Delphi app, and the Delphi app is using AI to do that translation, and it works exactly the same as Google Translate does. Disclaimer: Google Translate is way more complex than what I've done, although I have done probably 80% of what they do in Google Translate. Okay, so this really is genuinely translating text, and I can prove that if I get another file. Let me move my mouse down and see if I can find another file. Sorry about the screen flashing there. It's just because of the way Windows works. Oh, here it is. Files, Delphi Translate, samples. Okay, so I'm going to open another one, and this text is called the Bon Roi d'Agobert. This is a children's nursery rhyme. Okay, and he is it's about his big trousers or underpants, I think. But what we're going to do, if we just do that and paste it in, and because of a little bug I've got in there, you can see that it translates it. And again, I mean, this is weird that it says put her panties down, but basically the whole point about this is the good King Dagobert has got a large pair of underwear, and he's walking around with them, and it's a bit like the Emperor's New Clothes, if you know that story, where he's making mistakes. So how does this work? Well, it works by a couple of nice little things. I've called it Rad Translate, but basically all it is a web stencils app and it's using Delphi's web technologies, web broker. That's the word. I just had a sudden blank in the product name. That's not good for the Delphi advocate, is it? But it's using the web broker to do it. Now, all of this stuff that you see, the HTML that I created, which I'll just come back and show you again. All of that, I actually asked AI. This is the hilarious part. I said to their AI, make a copy of the Google Translate website, uh, and describe what I wanted on there. And actually, the AI quite rightly refused to do it. And I'm glad it refused to do it because it basically was plagiarism. But it just so that I emphasize copyright. There is a thing called fair use, and I'm not trying to rip off their site. This is not a publicly available site, and it won't ever be. I'm showing you how you can do similar things to what they've done in Delphi. So it's an educational thing because I don't want to be sued by Google for whatever reasons. But he says I don't understand anything, but it's still cool. Take care. Yeah, no worries. So uh, basically, it refused to do this. So I actually had to instead tell the AI, and it was Gemini AI, so it was their own stuff. I had to say to it, create a website with 2 boxes in here, blah blah blah, and all the rest of it. And I told it to do this and create. But now the thing that took the longest time was actually creating the HTML here. Okay. The thing that took the least amount of time, and it took me 2 or 3 minutes, was creating the bit that created this translation, this automatic translation. Isn't that weird? The hardest part you would think would be the AI translation, but it wasn't. It was actually getting that HTML right. So let's have a look at the actual code and see how it works. So I'm going to stop the server, and I'm going to move this over here. Otherwise, we get all sorts of weird stuff that I don't want you to see come up. And in a moment, it stops, which it does, and I'll pull up the actual program. So what we have here is a web broker app, and you can see that. I'm just going to move that so I can see here. And if you're not familiar with Adel Balhas says, which AI have you used to generate HTML and Delphi code? Okay, so the HTML code, I literally went to Gemini because I have a Google account and asked Gemini to do it, and it refused point blank to copy the Google Translate site. Actually, top marks for that because that's correct. It should say that. It should say, no, I'm not going to clone someone's site. But what I did do is then say, create me a web page that has got 2 text boxes in it with this graphic here, these buttons here, and I just used Jackson says, Ian, are you going to make the source available? I will do, but I think I may have to change a couple of things about it because I don't want you to have the source code for the Google Translate unedited, because I did that for a wow factor. I wanted you to go, oh wow, he wrote it in Delphi. But is there a list of languages, Keith? Yes, there are. There's over 70 languages, 70 that this does. I'm going to show you how this all works. But anyway, the point is the AI deals with all that, not me. So this is a web broker app. And if you're not sure how that works, you just go into into File, New, and then say Other, and then go into Web, and then you can say a web server application and create a web broker app from there. Web broker apps can be standalone, they can be CGI, or you can plug them in as an IIS module. There are other ways to do it as well, but I like web broker. I think it's a great technology. It is using in the background web stencils. Okay, and web stencils is a Paul set. Oh, Paul! Oh, yes. Hello, Paul Jackson. Yes, I know you. It's because it says Jackson, but I should have known that, shouldn't I? But web stencils engine is processing all of the data. So let me show you a couple of things. First of all, the first thing to really show you and get my cursor on the right page is what we get. So I have my my folder here. Whoops. My folder here, and this is my source code folder where all my source code is. In there, I have a HTML folder, and this is what's served up by the actual web pages. And the only page that is actually served up is this one, which is main page. Now, let me just pull this up so you can see what it looks like. And do this in Ultra Edit to make my friends at Ultra Edit happy. But this is what the web page looks like. So it's using Bootstrap. And again, the AI could have put this in. I actually put this in manually because the AI refused to rip off the stuff that I wanted to rip off. But it's got a header and it's using HTMX. Now, if you are not sure about what HTMX, I'm going to talk about it in a moment, but I think it's one of the best things to come out of the HTML crowd recently. And it allows me to do things like replace content with no flashes. So if we go back and run the app again, like so, which runs it here, and then if I just click on here, up comes the translate. And then if I pick on file number 1, wherever it's gone, which one is it? This one, The Little Mermaid. So the HTML that is there is standard HTML. But what I am doing is I've got a little bit of JavaScript at the bottom here. Okay, so these are the 2 text boxes, and I'll talk about those in a moment. And there's Bootstrap, which is what makes the screen look beautiful, so to speak. And then the only thing I've got that is kind of non-standard is I've got a bit of JavaScript in here that detects when I'm pasting text into the text box. Okay, so what this does is this waits to see if I'm going to paste in some text, which I'm going to do in a minute. And if I do, then what it does is it looks for the button called the translate button in the HTML, which is up the top here, translate button. Okay, and it does that by looking for the name translate button, which is this bit here. In fact, let's close this Explorer because it'll make it easy. You can see more text. And it clicks that button. When it clicks that button, HTMX triggers, and what it says is, okay, well, I need you to include the stuff in the content box, which is down here, that little bit of where it says where the magic happens. So it looks for this thing called OG content, the original content, i.e. the stuff that's not translated, and it posts the message to web broker. It posts it and says, show me the translate text web page. Okay, and original text and styling, it may not be. Yeah, okay, yeah. And then and the target that it's going to target is the bit that says, when the response that comes back with HTMX, the target is going to be translated content. Well, that is this item here. So let me just show you what that means on here. So this is OG content, and this is the translated content. So those are the 2 text boxes. All there is in there in that Ultra Edit thing. Okay, like that. If someone clones your site using the same image as text font, that likely comes. Yeah, actually, Fabio, that's the point, that they can't do that. For educational purposes, you can do certain things, but it has to be for educational content, which is exactly why I do it, and that's why I'm not going to send it out. If someone clones your site, you should probably sue, I think, but that's not what we're doing. We're absolutely not trying to pass ourselves off as Google. In fact, explicitly not. So anyway, so those are the 2, and you can see there's not a lot in there. So basically, the only other thing that we've got in here is that we have some CSS just to make things look pretty. So we've got a text area, and the language swap button. The language swap page button is in here. So I've got a button here called language swap. When you click on that little button, which just to remind you is this one. When you click on that, it's a button. It's got a graphic in it, which I got from the public repository. That button, when it clicks, calls swap, and again, it's using the HTMX. So it's targeting the text boxes. It changes the outer HTML. So what that means is that it's going to go here and it's going to target, because this is how HTMX works. It's going to target all of that. If it says inner HTML, then it's only going to target this bit here. But outer HTML means the whole bit. So it's calling some web pages. When you click on things, it's calling another web page called translate if you paste the text in. So let's just see what that looks like. So I'm going to just remind you, first of all, it is not Google Translate, and in no way is it similar to it. It's just the look and feel. Go in here and say paste the text. It triggers that JavaScript that says, okay, you've got some text. That clicks on that button there and then translates it into English. Now, I've set, this is not the full functionality. Jackson's asking what editor I'm using. This editor here, this is Ultra Edit. It's owned by Idera, and it's a sister company. And actually, I do some developer relations stuff at Ultra Edit as well. Great editor. You can open a 2 GB SQL file, which I've got, and it will open almost immediately. And you can search, and it will search immediately into the file. It's amazingly fast. So one of the things it's very, very good at is large file handling. So yeah, big fan of Ultra Edit. I love it. You can see all the syntax highlighting of that. It's just good. It's easier that I show it in here. I could open the HTML in the IDE, but if I start doing that, it gets a little bit complicated. So when I paste, the JavaScript goes, okay, you pasted. And then what it does is it clicks on that button, that then calls /translate. It's calling the websites, localhost 8080/translate. And then that then replaces, using HTMX, what the contents of this box was with the actual translated text. Great. Okay, so we get how that works. Okay, so let's just stop that for a second and let's look at exactly how it's working. So I'm going to say stop and exit like so. And let's see how that works. So what we have here is Web Broker has got the concept of actions, okay? And as I said before, if I when I click on that translate button or I trigger it using the pasted code, it goes to this path. This is how Web Broker works. So you can set some paths in here and say when someone calls translate text, it should do something. And in Delphi code, what it does is does this action, okay? And it actually takes the text that's sent over via HTMX. It gives me that text in request.contentfields.values OG content. You remember that text box OG content? I then pass that to a routine called do translate, and it translates the text string, which is set up here, and then we say we've succeeded. Do translate is this routine, and I've commented this out for now because I can show you some debugging and one of the other things it's doing. So what this does, I've written a little class. Okay, there's a field called ftranslator, and that actually is a class that I've written. So I wrote an interface, so I don't have to worry about whether the thing will have a lifetime and leak memory and all the rest of it. And this is the actual concrete class that this interface creates. And what it does is it goes in, and when I say create, it gets the available languages. It creates a dictionary of available languages, so I can populate that drop down with all the languages. It works out what the source language code is, and it starts off with auto. So auto means when we go to the translate, which I'll show in a moment, the AI, it says, I don't know what the language is, automatically work it out for me. Okay. And the default language that we're going to translate it into is English. But again, that could be auto. If it's auto, it works out where your domain is, where you live: France, Germany, Spain, Italy, Portugal, whatever, Brazil, and it will translate into your native language, your local language. But I'm translating it into English, and that's what that class does. So I've created that class to do that. And do translate does that. So do translate just calls that class and says translate the string. Here's some text to translate, and here's the function. Here's a concrete version of the function, translate string. And what does it do? Well, this uses Apicep's AWS translate interface. So I'm using Amazon. Now, because I've written this as a class, it could be any other AI that can do translation. But the most convenient one for this demo was using Amazon's translate. And I'm going to show you some other Amazon examples of AI in a moment. But it sets up the request, which is a translate text request. It passes over the source language code, which I've set to auto, the target language code, which I've set to English, and then it will pass over the text, which is the text that's in that original text box. It calls translate text on the client, so it calls the Amazon translate, the AI translate, assuming that's successful, which is the response we get back. Then if it's successful, if it's auto was the language we were setting for, we then return the detected language code, because the Amazon translate, AI translate, will come back and go, oh, okay, well, the source language is Danish, or the source language is French. So it knows that, and then a response. Otherwise, if it can't translate it, we just return the original text. So the translated on the left and the original text on the left and the translated on the right would be the same, because it doesn't understand it. So it just goes, no, I don't know how to do that. And that's it. So all I need to do is install Apicep's little library. So if I go to get it and choose AWS, I think this works, I install that. Now, I actually have the pro version, so I haven't installed it via Get It. But if you've got a version of Delphi, you can install that. If not, go to their website and you can get a copy. But this is the most comprehensive Amazon SDK I know of. And Richard is a friend of mine. There's a little disclaimer there. I get on very well with him. But Richard Hatherall was the author. But that's what I'm using. To include that functionality in your app, all you do is say uses AWS Translate and put in your credentials in a special part of the IDE, which I'm not going to show you because otherwise you'll steal my credentials. But that's it. AWS Translate. It's as simple as that. And then the actual, calling of the thing to translate the string is a few lines of code. And as I said, I mean, it probably took me 5 minutes to write that code like that. 5 minutes. Because I had to test it and write it and, sit up. But the hardest part, you would think, would be the AI translation. And actually, it's the easiest part. What took me a lifetime was all of the nonsense with the HTML, which is a bear to set up. Getting it right and getting it moving around and getting it to look in the right place, just so very, very annoying. But as long as you use proper classes and all the rest of it, it's great. So let's have a look again at how that works. So main server calls that, and if it works properly, then it calls this. So I'm going to just uncomment those. A few other things this code does is it starts by setting up the root directory of Web Stencils, because we're using Web Stencil to promote it. What does the HTML look like itself? Well, let's go back to my HTML. on the main page, did I? Yeah, I've already got this, haven't I? On the main page, there are a couple of things that you don't get in your normal HTML. Like, for example, this one. Okay, so that says at system.timestamp. Okay, that is not standard HTML. That is part of your web stencils thing. So how does that work? Well, when you initialize your module, env, I create a thing called environmental settings, and I can then produce things like anything that this class has. So app version, what the name of the app is, all the rest of it. It could be anything. That's just a class that I've surfaced. But for the system stuff, because I want that to be immediately dynamic, what happens there is that if it finds the at system, it works out that's a value and it goes, you're asking for at system. So if the property of the system is dot timestamp, then we'll return the date and time. If the property of system is dot year, then we'll return just the year. Otherwise, we'll just say system not found. So I can actually go into here and I'll show you this working in a moment. So timestamp is what it is at the moment. So let's just run this again. And so it's running. You think this is a cool example? You wait until you see the next example, because I'm going to show you another one in a moment. So it's running already. If I control click in the window, then up it comes. And it's on my other browser window, so it's over here. Oh, like this. And so it's up and running. Now you can see here, you just about see it probably in the resolution that we've got. There is a page produced at thing. That's the value that is coming directly. I'll get my mouse cursor over in the right place. That's the value that's coming from here, system.timestamp. Now, what's cool is, because this is a website, I could go into here and I could change that to say, what was it, system.year? I think that was what it was. I can do that. And now, if I refresh this page, now it's just showing the year. Cool, huh? Because it is generally a live template that is being returned by Web Stencils. Web Stencils is phenomenally powerful. If you're going to do web apps with Delphi, you really should you really should consider Web Stencils. There are other technologies out there that have each have their own space. Intraweb, UniGUI, all these kind of people out there, and WebCore, which I love. I love WebCore. They have different purposes for it. Keith asked, would it be possible to make a RAD server app using a Delphi Forms front end? Do you mean Web Stencils front end? Yes, in fact, we have a demo of that. Let me see if I can pull that up. I did actually, I think I did QR code for it. No, I didn't. I'll pull that up in a minute. Yes, the short answer is yes, you can definitely do that. I've got a little link here somewhere. Sorry, the screen's going to flash for a second whilst I do this. Yeah, so this is your official Web Stencils demo site. And it is github.com/Embarcadero/web stencils demo. And to answer your question that is there, is it possible to have a RAD server one? Yes, there is a RAD server project, and it's in Delphi and C++, and it does all of this stuff that you see here. I've shown this demo before, so I won't show it again, but this is written by Antonio Zapata, who's a very, very good pre-sales and sales consultant, and working for Embarcadero. He does a lot of developer outreach, like myself, and actually more intense outreach because he tends to go to lots of local events in Europe and things like that. He's based in the UK. And you know, there's everything you need with RAD server. There's some slight differences with RAD server, but apart from that, it works. Yes, AAT says RAD server supports web stencils now. Yes, 12.3, one of the things we put into 12.3 was that we actually put some special bits and bobs into RAD server to support web stencils. So it's all great stuff. Yeah, Jack, Paul, your information's out of date. Paul's saying he doesn't think it can do it. Actually, no, you can. You don't need to use Center anymore. Not for that. I mean, for other things, yes, but not for this. So yeah, let's just pull this up again. So what was I showing you? Oh yes. So yes, you can change this and you can say timestamp, or I can say something else, which obviously doesn't exist. And now when I go into here and I hit refresh, I should get an error message. Yep, because it doesn't know what something else is. Yeah, but if I change it back on the HTML and instead say timestamp and save it, now I want to refresh it, can show the date and time. So web stencils, really, really fantastic stuff. If I go into here and paste this like that, why did that not do anything? Oh, I know why, because here's a little quirk of clipboard history. It doesn't trigger the JavaScript in there. I know quite what I've done. I've broken it somehow. Oh, oh, broken something horrible there, but never mind. But the point is, you've seen it working. You know it does the translation. So all of this cool stuff, really, all done with web stencils and a little bit of AI to generate the HTML, which actually, you know, like I say, that was the hardest part of it. Now, it also has worked out that the language that I pasted in was Danish, and the target language that I'm heading for is English, and it does that. You know, I just added that little bit of code when I uncommented it, just to show you that it's actually live and doing the real thing. So there you go. What's that for now? So that's that demo. Now, just to follow along with the theme of AI in general, because that's quite a quick demo. There's nothing really untoward in here, and like I say, I probably will publish this code, but it won't be straight away because I'm busy this week. Someone's making me do some code camp. But what I will probably do is publish this with a slightly tweaked version of it. But let me open another example, which is need to pull the example up. This one. Bear with me a second. I have multiple screens open, and it gets a bit out of hand sometimes. And my recent projects thing is also a bit unbearably. This one you've probably seen before, but it bears showing because again it shows the real power of AI on Apicept. He says, "Hey, please explain your dev cycle with Ultra Edit." Yes, I will do in a moment. Yeah. So let's run this. I don't know where this appears. Oh, it appears on the screen because it's on the screen. So I can't remember if this will work or not on this resolution, but we'll find out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open an image and I'm going to do that off screen so you don't go through all my stuff that I've got. And all right, talk about yourselves for a second. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to pick up this image, and this is an image that I took myself. I think I was in the UK at the time. Yes, I was. I can tell by the pounds and all the rest of it. And it's a market. It's an open air market. And the reason this is a good picture to test on is because it's got some weird fruit in it, amongst other things. And so what I'm going to do is this is calling an AI app that is another Amazon service called Rekognition, and it does some very interesting things. So I'm going to click on this that says Show Confidences, and what we do is we click on this button that says Detect Labels, and down the side come a load of things that say labels. And this is not a web app; it's not web stencils or anything like this. But it's detected a whole bunch of things in this image, and again, it's just one. It's like 6 lines of code to do this. And it's found food. Yes, I would agree that a lot of this is food. Some of it's quite weird, it's like jackfruit and stuff like that. If you're not from a country that eats jackfruit, you're probably wondering what that is. A Buddha's hand is a type of melon. That's good. And actually, more I look at this, more I think it's in the United States. But there you go. Yes, because Texas up there. So I thought it was in England, but maybe not. But it spotted a couple of weird things. Like, for example, the first time was melon. Okay, so I see the melon, but what else have we got? Glasses. It's 63.5% sure that those are glasses, and I am amazed at the fact that it spots those because they are pretty obscure. And in fact, the first time that I saw this, it was a small image, and this is kind of large on the screen. But uh, I'm like, "Where's the handbag?" Oh, of course, that woman's holding a handbag. It can tell that's a handbag, even though it's only a partial amount of handbag. Really, pretty impressive produce. Pineapple. Yeah, I mean, like this one, it's 91.68% sure that's a pineapple. Now, these pineapples here are a very specific type of pineapple, and they're kind of snacky pineapples, but they're super sweet pineapples. So they're about the size of a small ball, I suppose, or something like that, a tennis ball. They're about as big as your hand. But it's not quite so sure that these are pineapples. It's like, yeah, looks like a pineapple, but isn't that great? That it can detect all of those. It's got a few other things as well, like a box, which is accurate, but it didn't spot these boxes. So it's good, but it's not that good. And it spotted apparel and stuff like that. So very, very good. Another example image is this one, which Richard and I have shown a few times. But the reason this one is hilarious is because these are my 2 dogs. Now, unfortunately, this one's fast asleep behind me somewhere. Oh, he's gone now. Oh, yeah. If you look carefully, he's down there as asleep, bless him. And that's a guy called Nemo. I'm going to say it quietly in case he wakes up and then starts barking. But he's a terrier. And this one here is Chloe. Unfortunately, she passed away a month ago. She was a very good dog. She got to 13 years old. So she did pretty well, but she's not with us anymore. But if I now click on Detect Labels, it says animals. Yes, correct. There are animals in there. Canine. Yes, correct. They're canines. That's what they are. Dog. Yes, they're dogs. And it says, oh, that's a dog there. Yeah, correct. That is indeed a dog. Mammal. Yes, a dog is a mammal. Safeways. Actually, 18. No, it was in the United States, and it was HEB, I think, or something like that. Yeah, Texas thing. Pet. Yes, my dogs are pets. Yes, they're puppies. Yes. Uh, Person. No, there's no person in there. I don't know where it thinks the person is. But what's the weirdest one is this cat. The AI has detected a cat. There's no cat in the image. Where's the cat? Oh. So it thinks my poor terrier dog, and he really is a dog. And in fact, not only is a dog, but you can see him very faintly on this image. Yeah, it probably won't show up, but that is him in a little bonnet. You can't see it very well because I've anti-A-list it out, but he's definitely a terrier dog, and it looks at him and goes, "Yeah, that's a cat." So AI, again, it's making its best guess, and it's 86% certain that Nemo is a cat. Now, the weird thing is, he's the most cat-like dog I've ever had. It's the paw. Well, I don't know about that. I think it's more like he just generally his face looks a bit cat-like because he's got these big whiskers and stuff like that. He's a cross between a Border Terrier and a Shih Tzu, so he's got very long hair. But yeah, you can't trust it to get it right. It also says there's a ball. There is no ball in here, so I don't know where it thinks the ball is. Sport, no. Tennis, no. There's no tennis rackets in here. Not that I'm aware of. Flooring, yeah, there's flooring here. Cocker Spaniel, no, no. Golden Retriever, yes. She is a type of Golden Retriever. Eskimo dog, collie, kitten. So, it's good, but it's not good. And again, you'll get back all of the confidences on your labels. And again, very simple app. Now, the last example I want to show is this one. And Sunil is an MVP, and he's a good guy. And actually, Sunil, I met him in Denmark. He flew all the way from India, where he lives. He's an MVP in India, and we did some archery together because we were hosted by Jens, who is an Olympic gold medalist actually in archery. And I showed this demo in Denmark because I thought it was funny. So let's detect the labels because I thought these are good. Now I think it's going to give a different score this time. But accessories, yes, he's got some accessories. Yes, he's wearing formal wear. That is correct. Yes, he's actually got a tie, and it's 99.6% certain he's got a tie on. Okay, a blazer. Yes, I would describe that as a blazer. That is a kind of jacket. Clothing. Yes, he's definitely got clothing on. He's got a coat and all the rest of it. Face. Yes, yes, yes. But the one that really makes me laugh is this one, which is male. It's only 99% certain that Sunil is male. Now, when I did this in Denmark, it was 86% certain. So it's improved. I don't know whether it's learned that Sunil is definitely male, but it was just so funny that, and he was outside at the time I showed the image where it's like 86% certain that Sunil was male, but very, very funny. But again, this is all AI and it will improve as it goes along. So it's getting better at recognizing whether he's a male or not. Sunil's a good laugh. I know he won't be offended, but that's it. Now, if you want to see how that works, this is an open example. This is available on the web. You can download it from Apicep's GitHub, and it's a beautiful piece of code. I really love Richard Hatherall's coding, but it's not difficult to do it. In terms of detecting the labels, he's got a thing called, he uses actions. So he opens the image, and then when you click on the detect labels button, which is up here, it actually triggers an action because he's a good coder and he does it using actions. And this is all it does. It creates the Rekognition client, which is an Amazon service. And then it says, detect the labels in this image. And that's it. That is the entire amount of code that you need to use AI image recognition. Now, what's interesting is he has some demos that show some of the other features of Amazon's recognition service because it can do things like content moderation. So you could put in your app, let's say you're allowing users to upload their profile picture, and you're a public site or a public app, and you transmit those profile images or whatever, if it's a chat app or some app, you allow them to pick their profile picture for themselves, which is very common metaphor. The danger is, of course, that they upload something offensive. And if you're Facebook, of course, that could be someone who's naked or at least partially naked, or it could be genitalia or something like that, or it could be sexually explicit, or it could just be offensive. For example, many people consider the swastika offensive. Other symbols of hate or violence or something like that, like a gun, you might say, I won't allow any weapons to be shown. I've got knives and swords behind me and things like that. But I live in Texas, but they're all, I collect those kind of things. But Some sites will not allow you to include any form of weaponry. The UK would consider a knife or a sword to be a weapon. Texas doesn't. Um, but if I was sitting here with a shotgun or something, then they would probably consider that an offensive weapon. I'm allowed to have it, but they wouldn't want it on a picture. And so the same service that does this image recognition, which you can call with a little bit of code, will detect whether something has got uh, obscene or undesirable content in it. And it's literally a couple of lines of code. So that's it. Now, where can you get this from? Well, let me pull up the correct site because otherwise he will hate me. And that is apposite.com up there. And as I said before, you can get it from Get It. And I thoroughly recommend it. This is the dollar price for the standard edition and pro edition. But even if you don't want to spend money on it, if you go into and you need the right version of Rad Studio, this won't be true of Community. But if you want to, and you've got something like, I think it's Pro and Enterprise, I'm not sure. But going to Get It, type in AWS, and the SDK for Apposite is there. So you too can add this to your systems today. It does much more than this. It does almost like S3, Amazon S3. It does the image recognition. It does the translation that I showed you earlier on with the Web Stencils app. Absolutely everything. Amazon AWS services. Great piece of code. So a lot of people say, "Oh, nice sample, Ian." Yeah, thank you. I was going for nice. Oh, I'm blurry. Come on, AI. There you go. I actually have an AI focus on my camera. So sometimes it wants to focus on the background instead of here. I got a new chair, this one, because I broke my other one live on air, nearly killed myself, and it keeps wanting to focus on one of the dog hairs. It keeps wanting to focus on the back of the chair, so I'm going to have to do something about that so it doesn't do that. So the idea is to get me as bright as possible. Then it won't want to focus on the background and show you all the stuff that's going on. So that's it. So it was a quick demo. Web stencils, AI, literally be able to recreate most of the functionality of Google Translate. I'm not knocking Google at all. I'm sure Google Translate has been out for a very long time. It is a fantastic public service. I mean, I really mean that. I'm not just sucking up to them. It has helped me millions of times to translate emails from people I didn't understand, or with Google Translate, I can speak 70 languages, including Klingon, because they have an option to translate Klingon as well. But it's a fantastic service. I'm sure they worked extremely hard creating that. The people that did that originally were geniuses. All I did was emulate it for the purposes of demonstrating how to, write that kind of functionality in this day and age. Google Translate has been out a long time. So Keith keeps asking me this. So I'm going to hey, Dinos Dev, how you doing, my friend? Yes, right. One of our MVPs. It's very, very good, Dinos. So I'm not quite sure what you mean. Dev cycle with Ultra Edit. I don't use Ultra Edit for entering Delphi code because I've got the Delphi IDE. The IDE. I have mine set up in very specific ways. When I'm demoing to you, I don't know why I'm clicking on things because you can't see it, so I've stopped sharing my screen. But in fact, let me share my screen again so I can talk about it for a second. So, I have right now. I have my ID set up for demo mode. So, I have it set up so it's appearing on my screen to my left. It looks right to you, but it's my left. And I don't normally code like that. When I'm writing my own code, I'm not having it on this screen. I do have it docked like this. I prefer all my windows down here whilst I'm debugging. So when I go into debug mode, lots of the things like watches and stuff like that appear here. But if I'm going to do something like do some heavy duty kind of README file editing or something like that, or HTML, then I will use Ultra Edit just because it's got some very cool things. For example, here's Web Stencils partial file. You can edit this in the IDE in Rad Studio, but generally I would do it in here. I normally have the Explorer option open on Ultra Edit, and because of a slight issue I have with my eyesight, I always use dark mode on everything. Delphi would greatly benefit from having an AI agent integrated into the IDE. So, Skypix, I'm going to make you look a bit silly now. First of all, uh, the name is Barker, not Parker. And secondly, it's got 4 agents integrated into the IDE for certain functionality. You can also add another 10 or 11 or more using Get It. And I did actually say that on my opening thing as well. But so it's Barker with a B, and they're already AI built into it. We are obviously exploring how far we can take that integration because some people are completely against the idea. In fact, we're having a panel discussion later on this week where 2 of the people are very cautious about AI and got some very specific reasons why they would not want it integrated completely into the IDE. But yes, there are definitely there's a case to be made for greater integration into the IDE, but not everybody's for it. But anyway, to go back to Ultra Edit, I use that for this kind of thing. It's very good. I don't think I have any open at the moment, but it's very good at uh, uh, markdown files, for example. And if I was to find a markdown file somewhere, I know I've got one somewhere, like this one, and I say open in Ultra Edit, there's a markdown file. Now, that's showing it in the normal way, okay? But if I say Control Shift P and say mark down in here, and then say here's the markdown preview. So this kind of stuff is really something that Ultra Edit's very good at. It's got lots of bells and whistles to do with uh, being able to explore things. It also got AI integration with pieces, which is a nice little AI kind of operating system, which is local as well. Sorry, Mr. Lan. Very good, Skypix. Not a problem. And yeah, I mean, things like this is very good at, but opening large files is amazing. When I'm doing SQL stuff and I've got a big SQL dump file and it's gigabytes long, Ultra Edit opens it like that in seconds. It's really good. But these kind of things with the live preview and all those, I love it. It's great. Um, big fan of it. It does all sorts of things as well. That you don't necessarily know about, but you can say, "Oh, actually, I know you've detected it HTML, but it's one of these other things." It does Unix shell scripts with syntax highlighting. It does Perl and yeah, all sorts of random stuff. And you can embed compilers in it and all those things as well. But generally speaking, I live day to day in the IDE, and when I'm writing code, I use Rad Studio all the time. And for small amounts of HTML, I use the IDE, but with respect, it's better dealt with other tools. And Ultra Edit is one of them, but I'll use anything that works. I do use Notepad++ from time to time as well. As you've seen, for text files, it's actually pretty good. I use it as a brain dump. So I will make notes in Notepad++, and then if my machine shuts down, when it opens up again, it shows it there. Alex says, thanks, it was very interesting, especially visual object detection and labeling with probabilities. Yes, that is one of the real strengths, I think, of the Apercept stuff is that object in makes it very easy, and you're really just leveraging Amazon stuff, but apercept.com, it's there. And you'll probably see it again later this week because he's got quite a few AI demos. He did one in the Delphi Summit. He spent oodles of time, and I really must show it at some point, training an AI to recognize playing cards. And he had custom written playing cards. And in fact, just behind my head there, he's got his own custom playing cards that he'd created. And I was on stage at the same time as him. So I didn't ever see that demo, unfortunately. But it was supposed to be a very, very good demo as well. And this kind of AI stuff, this is the thing that I think. Where's my mouse gone? Hello, mouse, where you go? Oh, I don't see my mouse anywhere. Is it working? Oh no, here it is. It's over here. Lost my mouse for a second. Yeah, this kind of thing for the AI is where I think we'll be at really for now. But it's so easy. 5 or 6 lines of code, and you're doing something that I'm sure when Google create Google Translate, I'm sure they spent years or months or hours, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of hours getting that thing ready because their stuff is, it's the primo stuff. I'm just showing you how to emulate that kind of behavior from an educational point of view. But it's easy, and all you do AWS dot and then Rekognition or AWS dot translate, and that's it. You've got all the power of the Amazon AI in there. So good stuff. Okay, so I think that's it for day one.